Hello, it's Tip Tuesday, and today we're going to be talking about something that you've wanted me to talk about for a long time, and that is how do you make money with a podcast? I've had so many questions on this, and truthfully, I am just now starting to make money with my podcast, and I'm 18 months in. So I don't think that it's something that happens right away or easily for most people unless you already have a big following going into starting your podcast. It is possible, but it takes some work. And there are 3 ways that I know of that people can make money with podcasts. And I'll go through each one of these in more detail. But basically, the first one is by ads, having ads for companies on their on their podcast. The second way is by selling their own products and courses through their podcast. And the third way is through a program called Patreon, which I'll tell you more about. So let me go through each one of those. The first is by having ad space for sale on your show. So you'll hear this when you listen to podcasts. Sometimes they'll have an ad at the beginning, sometimes in the middle, for a company. Now, people are paying them for that spot in their show. And I have been approached by companies who want to buy ad space, but I really haven't done this yet because I'm super protective of my audience and my community, maybe too protective, honestly. And so I have just felt like the companies that have reached out to me have not been a great fit. They haven't necessarily been bad, but I'm just like, what does that have to do with my community of mothers? Like, why would my community want to know about that product or that company? And so I just haven't really been willing to give up any space or time in my show. I've also been approached by third-party ad agencies, which are basically agencies that say that they will find ads for you and you will pay them a cut. The problem with that is that a lot of them are affiliated with podcast networks that want to acquire your show. So your show becomes part of their network and then they will find you ads for your show and they will pay you. I have just been too independent and have not wanted to be acquired by any network, or I haven't wanted to feel sort of beholden to these companies that are sponsoring my show, because sometimes they have specifics about you have to air the ad at this point in the episode. Most of them want a mid-roll advertisement that's in the middle. And I want to have more control over that, and I want to decide where the ad fits. And so I've just been really hesitant to join any sort of a third-party ad agency that will help me find advertisements. Now, that said, I put a tremendous amount of time, probably 30 hours a week or more, into my show, as well as money. I pay for all of my equipment, my hosting. I pay an employee, and I don't really make very much money. So it could be that I'm just being too darn stubborn, and I should accept these third-party ad agencies to just make my life easier. I haven't done it yet, but who knows? Maybe someday I will. What I have wanted to do is I have wanted to reach out and find my own sponsors that really fit with my brand, companies that I actually use, that I'm really passionate about, that I think are a great fit for my community. The problem with that is I haven't made the time because I've just been so busy keeping up with the show, with interviewing, editing, and the community, that I haven't really put in the effort and the time to reach out and find those sponsors that are a perfect fit. So that's where a third-party ad agency comes in handy, is that they'll just do it for you and you don't have to put in all that extra time and money. They do take a cut, and when I've talked to some ad agencies, I've just thought, oh, that's too big. It's 30 or 40%. And I'm like, I just don't want to give them that much money when I'm putting so much into producing my show. I feel like I just really want to get the full payment for the ad space. But again, maybe I'm just being too stubborn. I have another friend who's used the third-party ad agencies and has had a really great experience with them and does not regret it. So take that for what it's worth. I am in the process of reaching out, and hopefully I'm going to be able to line up some really great companies. I would prefer that instead of just buying ad space, that companies sponsor my show monthly, and they are the sponsor for every single episode that month, just because it feels more genuine and and it's less work for me and it's more exposure for the company. So that's my dream. I don't know if it's going to be possible to do it, but that's what I'm aiming for. I've heard, and who knows if this is true or not, that companies are not really interested in buying ad space until you have about 5,000 downloads per episode. And I do have that now, but I certainly did not have that early on. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Another option, if you are interested in using ad space on your show, is that you can be an affiliate for companies that you believe in. So they're not buying ad space from you. You are giving ad space to companies you believe in. You don't get any money unless your listeners buy something. So if they buy through your affiliate link, you get some money. In some ways, I think this is a really brilliant way to go because there's no pressure on you from the company to have the ad be in a certain spot in your show or to produce a certain amount of purchases for it to be worth their investment. There's just no pressure. It's just you decided to be an affiliate, you put it on your show where you want, and hopefully you make a little bit of money if people buy the product. My really good podcasting friend, we collaborate a ton. She's my colleague, Monica Packer from the show About Progress. She's taught me that from the beginning, early on in your show, you should have ad space that you use. Even if you do not have any sponsors yet, just use that space to introduce an affiliate or to even promote your own freebies, anything, but it gets your audience used to hearing those ads and saying like, but first we're going to hear from our sponsor. Even if the sponsor is you and your stuff, have that ad space in there. It gets you prepared for when you get paid sponsors, and it also gets your audience prepared for that. I thought that was a brilliant tip from Monica. So the second way that you can monetize your podcast is by promoting your own products. So if you have a membership site or workshops or courses, you can talk about them on your show and then direct people to buy. Some of you may listen to the podcast Better Than Happy by Jody Moore or The Life Coach School by Brooke Castillo. Neither of them have paid advertisements on their show. They just talk about their own membership sites. And that is their feeder. Their podcasts are their feeder into their programs. It's very effective. If people love your content on your show, then they're most likely going to love your content in your, course, membership site or workshop. It is additional work for you though, because you have to create those things that you're selling. In my ideal world, I would just love to create my podcast and not have to create any extra products. I love to do workshops, so I think that I would continue doing those just because I wanted to. But in my ideal world, that would not be the primary way that I earn my money. Right now, I do make some money from my workshops. That's the only way I make money right now is from my workshops. And so I tell people about those on my show, and then they go, and if they attend my workshop, then I get some money from it. Okay, the third way that you can make money with a podcast is by using Patreon. Have any of you heard of this site? It's a website where you can set yourself up as a creator, and then people who love your work, who listen to your show, or who, love your artwork or whatever it is, it's for artists and creatives. They can be your patron, which basically means that they pay a certain amount per month to support your work. They believe in your work enough that they just want to pay you so that you can do it because your work has blessed and benefited their life. It's a beautiful idea. It's a lovely model. I'm not sure how effective it actually is for most people. There are certainly some people who have good-sized Patreon followings and it's effective, but I'd say you have to have a very devoted community and following in order to make Patreon work. Also, the thing with Patreon is most of the time you offer people something. They're not just paying you out of the goodness of their heart. You have different tiers, and you say like, okay, in the bottom tier, if you pay $5 a month, then you will get a freebie from me every month, or you will get an additional podcast episode that nobody else gets except for my patrons. If you're in the middle tier, then you get all of that. Plus, you get to be on a live Q&A call with me once a month. And if you're in the top tier, then you get to help make decisions about the show and you get to help me pick guests or whatever it might be. So you're giving them additional value. These are like your super fans who love your work, and you're giving them additional value if they support you at a certain amount per month. I've considered doing Patreon. It seems like such a great idea as a way for you to just get funding from the people who believe in you. But I also really just like struggle asking for money, and I'd rather that companies pay me than my listeners pay me, honestly. But who knows? Maybe eventually I will go that route. So those are the 3 ways of monetizing a podcast that I know about. If you know of other ways, please let me know, because I am in the midst of figuring all of this out myself. And I am always going to take you guys on the journey with me with whatever I'm learning in any aspect of podcasting. I am totally happy to tell you about it and tell you about what I'm learning. One thing that I have really enjoyed is when I have talked to third-party ad agents who've been interested in acquiring 3 and 30, and I never regret just having the conversation and hearing them out. A lot of times I learn a lot about the podcasting industry from those conversations, even though going into them, I pretty much know that I'm not going to be interested. I'm just like, why don't I just hear them out and learn a little bit more about how podcasting works? So that's a tip from me. I also wanted to let you know that the Allison Brand School audio courses that I told you guys about a few weeks ago that teach you how to reach out and collaborate with businesses or influencers, they will be taken off the market, like she's closing the doors on Friday. So if you're interested in those, I have an affiliate link here and also in my email. I would love for you to purchase through my affiliate link because, like I just told you, that's one of the only ways I'm making money right now. I really appreciate you being here. I really enjoy doing these weekly tips, and we'll see you next Tuesday.